Hello everyone, welcome back to one more video. Tonight we mourn the loss of one of the most iconic characters in the comic book history. Today, Stan Lee has passed away. It was around midday when I learned that he has died in one of my tweet strings. And then as I was telling to my buddy saying, hey guys, you guys know that Stan Lee has died? Everybody was like, what, seriously? And as we were talking about that, I was seeing more and more people sending their messages about grief and the loss about Stan Lee. So that was like, yes, this is it. The time has finally come for us to lose one of the greatest artists in the world of comic book. Without any doubt, I'm willing to say that Stan Lee, when anybody thought about comics, Stan Lee was probably the first thing that come into their minds. And because he basically was the one that pushed the comic book back into our world and to what I think it is right now. I mean, I don't think we will have comic books the way that it are right now if it wasn't for him, or at least it wouldn't be the same. Certainly, I cannot deny that the main comic book history started when Superman came out. However, that was just like putting one of the gears into the clock. And then Batman came out, but there was something missing. I think there was something missing that people was waiting for. And then all of a sudden he comes to Stan Lee and start creating one awesome character after another one. I mean, we started Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, and the list, Hulk, and the list just goes on. And it was at his time that he really pushed, and it was like it has like the Hulk just grab the crank of history of comics and start cranking, giving it so much energy that it will never stop, and it just keeps going. And yeah, now we don't have him. He was very iconic, at some point some controversial. Yes, we know the history between him and Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby and a couple of other things here and there. But the reality is, to me, at least to me, I think that him was a great guy. I was obviously not his friend. Never met him personally. I was very lucky that being able to see him in person and to take a picture with him back in 2010. I mean, at that time he was already 87 years old, so he was very deep into the age, and you could see him he still had energy. He'll still smile, and very small chit chats. You couldn't even talk because they wanted to get him through all the people, the lines and lines. It was almost unfinishable. With people wanted to get their book signed and get the pictures with him. So obviously for somebody from 87, that was a really big task, but nevertheless he will do it. And yeah, I was very happy to be able to meet him in person. I wish I could probably be a little bit more happier and spend a little bit of time talking to him and ask him about all of this that is now the world of comics and what was for him. I mean, we all know, we all hear the histories. There's many people out there talking about it. You got Tom McFarlane, you got Rob Liefeld, you got Kevin Smith, many people in the medium who met him and spent some time with him. They can tell how great it was. And even for someone like us, like we are in the sidelines, just reading the stories, reading the characters that he created, we can tell how he was, how great he was, how much awesome it was for the comic books. It's beyond doubt he became a legend even before he passed away. He was already a legend by the time he passed today. He was already a legend. And I think the legend will just continue. It will continue grow, and we will continue honoring him by creating more stories for his characters, which I think they will never die. And if they are, it's probably not going to be in my lifetime, and probably not in the lifetime of my girls. We may go tired of the movies, but there's always going to be something else. There's always going to be comic books, actual books, short stories for people who like the character, fan art, fan stories, everything. There's always going to be something about the characters that he created it. And no matter what happened in the future with the characters, everybody will always remember those characters as how Stan Lee created them, how they were born. No matter what happened to the characters and how their deal after he's passed, or in the future, we always remember the characters, how they were born. And that little shaky little guy who turned to be one of the greatest heroes, and in a story with one of the biggest catchphrases that you can arguably have in the world of history of comic books: with great power comes great responsibility. And it was very versatile, all his stories going back. And I think he was also very lucky to meet some great people who team up with him and created all this world of comics that we know of. I mean, he was really always going forward. I mean, up until the date where he kind of like, I'm not going to say retire from the comic book business, but he stepped aside for a little bit. But before that, I mean, he not only he created the greatest team of superheroes, which is Fantastic Four. That was a great family. He also was the first guy to create mainstream comic book character of color with Black Panther, introducing in the Fantastic Four. Many people don't realize, many people don't know that, but Black Panther was created by Stan Lee. People who doesn't know about comic books, who only have seen the movie and say, oh yes, this is a great character, I identify with him. Well, guess what? That character was created by Stan Lee. He was also the first guy to go against the comic book code, or whatever the name that is for that matters, when the comic book code was censorship and was telling the artists and the storytellers what they can put and what they cannot put. He had a great story, and he said, you know what? I think it's great. I'm going to publish the way that it is. And it was in an Amazing Spider-Man. I cannot remember really what number. I think it was in the 90-something, I believe. I can't remember, to be honest. But he published the first comic book without the comic book code on the cover and being approved. And it was related to drugs. That's why they didn't want it. They wanted him to change the story, even though he said, no, you know what? I'm running it the way that it is. And after that, well, everything came through. After that, DC released the story with Speedy being a junkie in Green Lantern. Another very iconic story in the comic books. And he was always pushing it. So today really is very sad, the loss. I just wanted to make this little video because I wanted just to tell you guys what I think about the man, what I think about Stan Lee. Undeniable, there are great other persons in the comic book history: Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster, Bob Kane, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby. The list can go on, but probably at the top of that list, I would probably say Stan Lee is right there. He was always advocating about the books, about the stories, and it was really fun to see him and those little cameos he did in every single Marvel movie and other movies for that matters. Even though they weren't in person, he always gave his voice and his image to do it. The latest one that I saw is in Teen Titans Go movie. He was there. Also in the last game that came out from Spider-Man, he was there too. He was always giving voices for characters, for stories, for TV series. It was just great. It's very unfortunate, like anything great, everything comes to an end. Now, he may have not been with us, but his stories and his characters, they're still with us. I really encourage you to go ahead and just grab a book from Spider-Man, from Fantastic Four, Avengers, Journey into Mystery, and start reading those stories. It's never too late to jump in and be absorbed by that world that he created it, and has been expanded immensely now with other new creators. So it really touches one's lives, especially for a comic book collector like me. When I grew up, I was just growing up with all the reruns that obviously were reprinted in Mexico, of his stories of Amazing Spider-Man, X-Men, Avengers, and all that. So they were great. I thank him for creating those characters that mean so much in my life, that have given me so much of a fun time and enjoyment by reading and going through those pages and seeing it, reading the stories, seeing the characters, and the also that great sorry, I lost the word, dynamic. Yes, that great dynamic that in that time, even though it was the silver age, it may have been the silver age of comic books, but to me it was the golden age. That great dynamic that he had with great artists out there like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, John Romita, to say just some. And I just hope that the legacy just goes on, and that we can enjoy more and more and more those stories. And that was it for today, guys. I just wanted to share with you what that person, what that Stan Lee mean to me, and the stories that he created mean to me, and what I think about him. Whatever is being said, this is what I personally think about him, and how I see him in the story, and how I see him in his story that he created for me, for my life as a comic book fan, as a comic book collector. I just love those stories. I think that guy was great, and whatever he is, may he rest in peace. All right, guys, up until next time, take care.